The stars looked cold and empty in this part of space. Captain Vexitar stood on the bridge of his ship, the Void Seeker. His green scales caught the light from the control panels around him. He was tall, like most of his people, with yellow eyes that could see far into space. "Captain," said his second officer, Mothka, "we found something strange." Vexitar turned his long neck to look at the screen. There, floating in the darkness, was a ship. It was not like any ship he had ever seen before. The metal looked rough and dark. Scars covered its surface like old wounds. Some parts looked burned. Other parts had deep cuts in them. "What kind of ship is that?" Vexitar asked. "We do not know, sir," said Science Officer Kethlon. His blue skin was pale with worry. "It does not match any ship in our database. The design is strange." Vexitar walked closer to the screen. The unknown ship was big. Very big. It had thick armor and what looked like weapon ports all along its sides. Even damaged, it looked dangerous, like a sleeping beast that might wake up at any moment. "Are there any life signs?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Many of them. The ship appears to have a full crew inside. Have they seen us?" "We do not think so. They are not moving or sending any signals." Vexitar thought for a moment. In his many years as captain, he had met many different kinds of aliens. Most were peaceful, some were traitors, a few were warriors, but this ship looked different. It looked like it was built for war and nothing else. "Send a message to Alliance Command," he said. "Tell them we found an unknown vessel. Request instructions." "Yes, sir." The Void Seeker was a science ship. It belonged to the Galactic Alliance, a group of many different alien races that worked together for peace. They explored new worlds, made maps of space, and met new species. Most of the time, first contact was simple and friendly, but sometimes it was not. "Sir," said Communications Officer Zelthi, "Alliance Command says to learn what we can about the ship and its people. They want a full scan and report." "Very well. Begin long-range scans." Vexitar looked at the unknown ship again. Something about it made him feel uneasy. The way it was built, with so much armor and so many weapons, suggested its makers were not peaceful explorers like the Alliance. These beings knew war. On the other ship, the one called Iron Mountain, Commander Park Hyun sat in his captain's chair. His dark hair was cut short and his face was serious. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. "Sir," said Lieutenant Kim Nari from the sensor station, "I'm picking up another ship, about 10,000 kilometers away." Park Hyun turned to look at her. "What kind of ship?" "Unknown design. It's bigger than us, but it doesn't look military, more like a science vessel." "Are they scanning us?" Kim Nari checked her instruments. "Not yet, but they're moving closer." Park Hyun thought about this. The Iron Mountain had been drifting here for 3 days while his engineers fixed the engines. They had just finished a long patrol mission on the edge of human space. The ship was damaged from several fights with pirates and hostile aliens. His crew was tired but ready for anything. "What's our status?" he asked. "Main engines are still offline," said Chief Engineer Choi Soo-jin over the communication system. "But weapons and shields are working fine." "How long until engines are ready?" 2 more hours, sir." Park Hyun nodded. 2 hours was not long, but if the other ship was hostile, it might be too long. "Keep monitoring them," he told Kim Nari. "Let me know if they do anything suspicious." Back on the Void Seeker, Kethlon was starting his scans. He sent invisible beams of energy toward the unknown ship. These beams would tell him about the ship's size, weapons, crew, and many other things. "Beginning deep scan now," he reported. The beams reached the Iron Mountain and started to gather information. Numbers and pictures appeared on Kethlon's screen. At first, everything looked normal. The ship was made of metal alloys that were strong but not unusual. It had engines, life support, and communication systems like most spaceships. But then the scans went deeper. "Captain," Kethlon said, his voice strange, "you need to see this." Vexitar came over to look at the screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. The unknown ship had weapons. Lots of weapons. More weapons than most Alliance battleships. There were missile tubes, energy cannons, particle beams, and things the computer could not even identify. The ship was basically a floating fortress. What kind of people build ships like this? Mothka whispered. The kind that fight wars, Vextar answered. But that was not the worst part. The scans were also picking up the crew inside the ship. There were about 800 beings on board. The computer was trying to figure out what species they were, but the results were confusing. Sir, Keithlon said, the biological scans are showing something impossible. What do you mean? These beings, they register as predators, apex predators, all of them. Vextar stared at the screen. In all his years of space travel, he had never heard of a species where every single member was a predator. Most intelligent species were either herbivores or omnivores with peaceful tendencies. Having a few predators in a species was normal. Having all predators was terrifying. Are you sure the scans are correct? I've checked 3 times. The readings are consistent. On the Iron Mountain, Kim Nari noticed something. Sir, they're scanning us, she reported. What kind of scans? Deep scans. They're looking at everything. Our weapons, our crew, everything. Park Hyun frowned. Are the scans harmful? No, sir. Just information gathering. Let them look, Park Hyun decided. We have nothing to hide. Had no idea that his decision would soon terrify an entire alien crew. The scans continued. With each passing minute, the readings became more disturbing. The unknown beings had dense bones, powerful muscles, and organs that seemed designed for survival in harsh conditions. Their blood carried more oxygen than normal. Their hearts were stronger. Their brains showed patterns that suggested high intelligence combined with aggressive instincts. Captain, Kethlon said quietly, I think we should leave. Why? Because, whatever these beings are, they are the most dangerous species I have ever seen, and there are 800 of them on that ship. Vextar looked at the scan results again. Every number, every reading, every piece of data suggested the same thing. The unknown ship was crewed by a species of natural-born killers, beings who were stronger, faster, and more dangerous than anything in the known galaxy, and they were just sitting there in the darkness, waiting. The scanning beams from the Void Seeker went deeper into the human ship. Science Officer Kethlon watched his screens with growing fear. Each new piece of information was worse than the last. Captain Vextar, he called out, his voice shaking. The scans are showing more details about these beings. Vextar hurried over to the science station. His yellow eyes looked at the numbers and charts on the screen. What he saw made him step back in shock. This cannot be right, he whispered. The beings on the unknown ship had bone density that was 3 times normal. Their muscle fibers were packed tight like steel cables. Their skin was thick and tough. The computer estimated that these creatures could lift objects weighing several hundred pounds without strain. Run the scan again, Vexitar ordered. Check for errors. Kethlon did as he was told. The results came back the same. On the Iron Mountain, Dr. Yoon Tae-ho walked through the medical bay. He was checking on the wounded crew members from their last battle. His steps were quiet and careful. He moved from bed to bed looking at charts and talking softly to his patients. The alien scanning beam followed him without his knowledge. It recorded everything he did. How are you feeling, Sergeant? Dr. Yoon asked a man with bandages around his chest. Better, Doc, the sergeant replied. The pain is almost gone. Dr. Yoon looked at the man's medical chart. The sergeant had been shot 3 times during the fight with space pirates. The bullets had broken 2 ribs and punctured his lung. Any normal being would have died from such wounds. But the sergeant was sitting up in bed talking and joking with other patients. He would be back on duty in a few days. The scanning beam recorded this information and sent it back to the Void Seeker. When Kethlon saw the medical data, he almost fell out of his chair. Captain, he cried out, look at this. The screen showed the medical records of the wounded humans. Bullet wounds, broken bones, burns, cuts, and injuries that should have been fatal. But these beings were healing, fast, much faster than any known species. This one, Kethlon pointed to a chart, was shot in the stomach 2 weeks ago. The bullet went through his liver and kidney. He should be dead. But he is not, Vextar said, looking at the scan showing the human walking around the ship. No, he is not. His organs have healed themselves. His body has grown new tissue to replace what was damaged. Vexitar felt cold fear creep up his spine. His people, the Saurids, were tough and strong. They had been warriors once, but even they could not heal from wounds like this. No species could. The scans showed more disturbing facts. The humans had redundant organs. 2 kidneys, when most species had one. Multiple chambers in their hearts, backup systems for almost everything. It was like their bodies were designed to keep working even when badly damaged. In the ship's gym, Sergeant Lee Min-ho was training with his squad. They were practicing hand-to-hand combat. The alien scanners watched as the humans hit each other with enough force to break Alliance bones. "Again!" Lee Min-ho shouted. "Hit harder!" The Marines obeyed. They punched and kicked each other with brutal force. When one man fell down, he got back up and continued fighting. Blood flowed from cut lips and bruised faces, but no one stopped. "These beings," Mothka said, watching the scans. "They hurt each other for fun." "It appears to be training," Kethalon corrected. "They are learning to fight better by fighting each other. But look how hard they hit. Those strikes would kill most species." "Yes," Vextar said quietly. "They would." The scans showed that human bones were incredibly dense and strong. Their skulls were thick. Their muscles were packed with fast-twitch fibers that could deliver explosive power. Even their teeth were designed for tearing and crushing. In the reactor room, Chief Engineer Choi Soo-jin worked alone. She wore a simple uniform and carried basic tools. The radiation levels around her would kill most Alliance species in minutes. But she moved casually, checking systems and making repairs. The scanners measured the radiation. The levels were deadly, lethal, absolutely fatal to any known form of life, except to these humans. "How is she still alive?" Mothka asked. "I do not know," Kethalon admitted. "The radiation should have killed her hours ago. Maybe their species evolved on a radioactive world. That would explain the radiation resistance. But not the other things we are seeing." The scans revealed more secrets about human physiology. Their blood was different. It carried more oxygen and had special cells that fought infection and disease. Their immune systems were incredibly strong. They could survive in environments that would kill other species instantly, but the most frightening discovery was still to come. The scanning beams reached the ship's armory. What they found there made the entire alien crew go silent with fear. Weapons, thousands of weapons, guns that fired metal bullets at incredible speed, energy weapons that could burn through, armor, explosives powerful enough to destroy buildings, knives and swords and tools designed only for killing. "Captain," Communications Officer Zelthi said in a small voice, "these beings have more weapons than some Alliance fleets. And look," Kethalon added, "every crew member carries personal weapons. The cook has a gun. The medical staff have knives. Even their engineers are armed." Vextar stared at the scan results. This was not normal. Civilized species did not arm every single member of their crew. Warriors carried weapons. Soldiers carried weapons. But doctors, engineers, cooks? What kind of world did these beings come from? He wondered aloud. The answer was in the ship's database, but they had not found it yet. The scans were still working, still gathering information, still revealing the terrible truth about humanity. In the ship's mess hall, human crew members sat around tables eating their meal. They laughed and talked like normal beings, but the scans showed what they were eating. Meat, lots of meat. The proteins came from animals that had been killed and processed. These humans were not just predators by biology. They were predators by choice. They ate other creatures and seemed to enjoy it. "Sir," Kethalon said, "I am reading something strange about their social structure." "What do you mean?" "They have a hierarchy based on combat ability. The strongest fighters are the leaders. The toughest warriors get the most respect. Their entire society appears to be organized around fighting." This was the final piece of evidence that Vextar needed. These beings were not just physically dangerous. They were culturally dangerous. Their whole civilization was built around war and violence. On the Iron Mountain, Commander Park Hyun walked through the corridors of his ship. He checked on his crew, spoke with his officers, and reviewed damage reports. To him, this was a normal day. His ship was hurt but not badly. His crew was tired but ready. They would be home soon. He had no idea that his simple presence was terrifying an entire alien crew. The scans showed his physical capabilities, his combat experience, his calm confidence in the face of danger. To the aliens, he looked like the perfect predator, smart, strong, and completely without fear. "Captain," Kethlon said, "I recommend we leave immediately." "Why?" "Because we have discovered something that should not exist. A species of apex predators that has somehow achieved spaceflight. They are more dangerous than anything in our records." Vextar looked at the scan data one more time. 800 humans, each one capable of incredible violence, each one armed and ready for battle, each one tougher and stronger than the best. Alliance warriors. And they were just the crew of one ship. "How many ships do they have?" he asked. "We do not know. But if this is just one ship," Vextar did not want to think about what an entire fleet of these vessels would mean. The Alliance had been peaceful for centuries. They had forgotten what real war looked like, but these humans remembered. They had never stopped fighting. Captain Vexistar called his senior officers to the bridge meeting room. The door slid shut behind them with a soft hiss. Around the table sat the best minds on his ship. All of them looked worried. "Show them what we found," Vexistar told Kethlon. The science officer activated the holographic display. Images from the human ship appeared in the air above the table. The alien officers leaned forward to get a better look. "This is the unknown vessel," Kethlon began. "We have been scanning it for 2 hours. What we found is deeply disturbing." Showed them the biological readings first. The dense bones, the powerful muscles, the redundant organs. Then came the medical data showing humans healing from wounds that should have killed them. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Vethma, the ship's medical officer. "No species can survive injuries like this." "These can," Kethlon replied. "But that is not the worst part." He changed the display to show the ship's interior. The aliens watched as human crew members went about their daily tasks. At first glance, they looked almost normal, but the scans revealed the truth beneath the surface. "Watch this," Kethlon said. The display focused on the human gymnasium. Sergeant Lee Min-ho stood in the center of a large room. Around him, 20 Marines waited for orders. They wore simple clothes and had no armor or weapons. "Begin combat." "Training," Lee Min-ho commanded. What happened next made the alien officers gasp in shock. The humans attacked each other with savage fury. They threw punches that could shatter stone. They kicked with force that would break Alliance bones. They grabbed and threw each other across the room like they weighed nothing. "They are trying to kill each other," Dr. Vethma said in horror. "No," Kethlon corrected. "They are training." "Training for what?" "War." The display showed one human grab another and slam him to the floor. The impact would have killed most species instantly. But the human who was thrown simply rolled, stood up, and attacked back. Blood ran from his nose, but he was smiling. "Again," Lee Min-ho shouted. "Hit harder. Move faster. In real combat, the enemy will not be gentle." The Marines obeyed. They fought with even more violence. Bodies crashed into walls. Bones made cracking sounds. The weaker aliens watching from the Void Seeker felt sick just looking at it, but the humans seemed to enjoy it. "Look at their faces," Mothka pointed out. "They are happy." It was true, the humans were laughing and joking as they hurt each other. When someone got knocked down hard, the others cheered. When blood was spilled, they called it a good hit. "These beings find violence amusing," Dr. Vethma observed. "They take pleasure in causing and receiving pain." The display shifted to show another part of the human ship. In the armory, weapons instructor Corporal Kim Dong-soo was teaching a class to new crew members. The students were not soldiers. They were cooks, clerks, and maintenance workers. But they were all learning to kill. "This is a combat knife," Kim Dong-soo explained, holding up a wicked-looking blade. "It is designed to pierce armor and cut through bone. The proper grip is like this, he demonstrated on a practice dummy. The knife slid through the target's chest like it was made of soft clay. The blade came out the other side, dripping with fake blood. Now you try, he told the students. The human cooks and clerks took turns stabbing the practice dummy. They learned where to cut to cause the most damage. They practiced moving quietly and striking from behind. They studied ways to kill silently and efficiently. Every single crew member is a trained killer, Kethalon reported to the alien officers. From the captain to the lowest maintenance worker, they all know how to fight. But why? Asked Navigation Officer Keltos. Why would a peaceful species need such training? Because they are not peaceful, Vextar answered. Look at their ship. Look at their weapons. Look at how they treat violence like a game. These beings are warriors by nature. The scans revealed more disturbing information. The human ship carried enough weapons to fight a small war. Not just the big guns mounted on the outside, but thousands of personal weapons stored throughout the vessel. In the medical bay, Dr. Yoon Tai-ho was examining a wounded Marine. The man had been shot in the leg during the last battle. The bullet had shattered his thigh bone and torn through muscle and blood vessels. But he was walking. How do you feel? Dr. Yoon asked. Good enough to fight, the Marine replied. When can I return to duty? Give it another day. The bone is still healing. The alien officers watched this conversation with growing fear. The human's leg had been destroyed just 2 weeks ago. His bone had been broken into pieces, yet he was standing and walking and asking when he could fight again. Their healing ability is beyond anything we understand, Dr. Vethma said. They recover from wounds that would cripple us for life. And look at their pain tolerance, Kethalon added. The display showed another human in the medical bay. This one had burns covering 30% of his body. The injuries came from an explosion in the engine room. By all medical standards, he should have been screaming in agony. Instead, he was reading a book. Does it hurt? Dr. Yoon asked him. A little, the burned human replied with a shrug. Nothing I cannot handle. The alien officers stared in disbelief. Burns like that would have most species begging for death. But this human treated them like a minor inconvenience. They do not feel pain the way we do, Dr. Vethma concluded. Their nervous systems are different. They can function normally even when severely injured. The scans showed more evidence of human toughness. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Choi Soo-jin worked in conditions that would kill most species. The radiation levels were deadly. The heat was extreme. The air was filled with toxic gases. But she moved through it all like it was a pleasant garden. The environmental readings are off the charts, Kethalon reported. Temperature 65 degrees Celsius. Radiation 500 rads per hour. Atmospheric toxicity lethal to all known species. Except humans, Vextar said grimly. Except humans. The display focused on Choi Soo-jin as she repaired a damaged power coupling. She wore basic work clothes and a simple breathing mask. No radiation suit, no environmental protection, just normal clothing, and she was humming a happy song while she worked. What kind of world did these beings evolve on? Cheltos asked. One that would kill us in minutes, Kethalon replied. Look at this data. The scans had accessed the human ship's database. Information about Earth appeared on the display. The alien officers read the environmental data with growing horror. Gravity, 1.3 times Alliance standard. Atmospheric pressure, high. Radiation, moderate to high levels. Weather, extreme storms, temperature variations, deadly precipitation. Geology, active volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis. Biology, dominated by predator species. This planet is a death world, Dr. Vethma whispered. How did intelligent life evolve in such conditions? By becoming the ultimate predators, Vextar answered. The database showed images of Earth's animals. Lions that hunted in packs, sharks that could smell blood from miles away, bears that could crush bones with their jaws, snakes with deadly poison, spiders that paralyzed their prey, and humans had evolved alongside all of them. not as prey, but as hunters. They did not just survive on this world, Kethalon observed. They conquered it. They became the apex predator of an entire planet filled with killers. The final piece of evidence appeared on the display. Historical records from the human database showed thousands of years of warfare. Humans fighting other humans, cities burning, armies clashing, weapons getting more and more deadly over time. They have been at war for their entire recorded history, Mothka said in amazement. Not just war, Vextar corrected. Constant war. They have never known peace. They have been fighting for so long that violence is normal to them. The display showed human children playing games that involved fighting and conquest. Their entertainment consisted of stories about battles and heroes who killed their enemies. Even their sports were forms of combat. Captain, Kethalon said quietly, I strongly recommend we leave this area immediately. Why? Because if these humans decide we are enemies, we will not survive the encounter. Our ship is not designed for combat against beings like this. Vextar looked at the scan data one final time. 800 apex predators on a single ship, each one capable of incredible violence, each one trained to kill from childhood. Each one evolved on a world that would destroy most other species. And somewhere in human space there were probably thousands more ships just like this one. Set course away from the human vessel, he ordered. Maximum speed. Sir. Communications. Officer Zelthi interrupted. We are receiving a transmission from the human ship. Every officer on the bridge went silent. The humans were trying to make contact. Vextar felt his blood turn to ice. After everything they had learned, the last thing he wanted was to talk to these predators, but it was too late. The humans had noticed them. The transmission from the human ship crackled through the speakers on the Void Seeker. Captain Vexitar stood frozen as the voice reached them across space. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Park Hyun of the Earth Navy ship Iron Mountain. Please, identify yourself. The voice was calm and friendly. It sounded almost normal, but after what the aliens had seen in their scans, they knew better than to trust appearances. Should we respond? Asked Communications Officer Zelthi. Vextar hesitated. Every instinct told him to run away as fast as possible. But Alliance protocols required first contact procedures. They were supposed to make peaceful contact with new species, even ones that could probably kill them all without breaking a sweat. Open a channel, he finally decided, but keep our weapons ready. Sir, our weapons would not be effective against their ship, Mothka pointed out. I know, but we have to try something. The communication channel opened. This is Captain Vextar of the Galactic Alliance vessel Void Seeker. We greet you in peace. Glad to hear that, came the human's reply. We noticed your scans. Just routine checks, I hope. Vextar felt sweat form on his scales. The human knew they had been scanned, which meant they knew the aliens had seen everything. Yes, routine scans, Vextar lied. We are explorers. We study new ships and species we encounter. Understood. We do the same thing. Mind if we take a look at your vessel? Before Vextar could answer, the human ship began scanning the Void Seeker. But their scans were different, more powerful, more invasive. The alien ship's shields meant nothing against the human sensors. On the Iron Mountain, Lieutenant Kim Nari studied the incoming data about the alien vessel. Interesting ship, she reported to Commander Park Hyun. Science class, lightly armed, crew of about 200. They seem peaceful enough. Any threats? None that I can see. Their weapons are pretty weak, more for self-defense than actual combat. Park Hyun nodded. The aliens seemed harmless. Probably just curious explorers like they claimed to be. Still, he had learned to be careful during his years in space. Keep monitoring them, he told Kim Nari. Let me know if anything changes. Back on the Void Seeker, the alien crew watched their instruments with growing panic as the human scans revealed everything about their ship. Within minutes, the humans knew their weapon strength, crew size, and defensive capabilities. They scanned us completely in less than 5 minutes, Kethalon reported. Their sensor technology is far ahead of ours. What did they learn? Vextar asked. Everything. They know exactly how weak we are compared to them. This made the situation even more terrifying. The humans now knew the aliens posed no threat, which meant they could do whatever they wanted without fear of retaliation. The communication channel crackled again. "Nice ship you have there," Commander Park Hyun said. "Mind if I ask what brings you to this part of space?" "Exploration," Vextar answered truthfully. "We map new star systems and make contact with new species." "That sounds like interesting work. We do some exploring too, when we are not busy with other things." "Other things?" "Oh, you know, patrol missions, border security, dealing with pirates and hostile aliens, the usual military stuff." The casual way the human mentioned military operations made Vextar's blood run cold. This was just a routine patrol for them. Fighting pirates and hostile aliens was normal business. "How often do you encounter hostiles?" Vextar asked, despite himself. "Pretty regularly. Last month we had 3 separate engagements with Corvan raiders. Before that we spent 6 weeks chasing down a slaver ring. Always something to keep us busy." The aliens exchanged terrified glances. The humans talked about combat like other species discussed the weather. It was just a normal part of their lives. On the human ship, Dr. Yoon Tae-ho finished his medical rounds and headed to the ship's database to update patient files. He pulled up the records of their recent battles, noting which crew members had been wounded and how quickly they had recovered. The Corvan raid had injured 12 humans. Gunshot wounds, knife cuts, and 1 man who had been hit by an explosive. All of them were back on duty within 2 weeks. Before that, the fight with the slavers had cost them 18 wounded. Several had been tortured by their captives before the rescue. Burns, broken bones, and psychological trauma. But they had all recovered and returned to service. Dr. Yoon made notes about improving trauma treatment procedures. In his medical opinion, the crew was in excellent health and ready for whatever dangers they might face next. The alien scanners recorded all of this information and sent it back to the Void Seeker. When Kethalon saw the human medical records, he nearly fainted. "Captain," he called out weakly, "you need to see this." The display showed a list of battles the human ship had fought in the past year. There were dozens of entries: ship-to-ship combat, boarding actions, ground assaults, rescue operations, and something called pacification missions. "They have been fighting constantly," Vextar observed. "Look at the casualty numbers," Kethalon pointed out. In 12 months of combat, they lost only 3 crew members killed and 47 wounded. That seems low. It is incredibly low. Most species would have lost half their crew in battles like this. But the humans keep fighting and winning with minimal losses. The database revealed more disturbing details. The human weapons were far more advanced than anything in Alliance space. Railguns that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. Plasma cannons that could melt through battleship armor. Missile systems with warheads that could destroy entire space stations. But the most frightening weapons were the ones labeled as conventional. "Look at this," Kethalon said, highlighting an entry in the database. "They carry something called nuclear missiles." "What are those?" "Weapons that use atomic fusion to create massive explosions. A single missile could destroy one of our cities." "How many do they carry?" Kethalon checked the inventory. His face went pale. 57 nuclear warheads, plus conventional explosives, chemical weapons, and something called kinetic kill vehicles. Vextar stared at the numbers in disbelief. The human ship carried enough firepower to destroy an entire Alliance fleet, and they called these defensive weapons. The scans revealed weapon storage areas throughout the Iron Mountain. Every corridor had weapon lockers. Every room had emergency armament supplies. The humans could arm themselves for battle in minutes, but that was not the worst discovery. "Captain," Kethalon said in a voice barely above a whisper, "I found their trophy room." "Their what?" "Look at this." The display showed a large chamber deep inside the human ship. The walls were covered with displays of weapons, armor pieces, and strange objects. Each item had a small plaque beneath it. Corvan Raider Sword, Taken during Battle of Epsilon Station. Vextar read aloud. Slaver plasma rifle, captured during Rescue Operation Mercy. Pirate battle flag seized after destruction of Red Claw fleet. There were hundreds of items, weapons and equipment taken from defeated enemies, proof of the humans' victories in battle. They collect souvenirs from their fights, Dr. Vethma said with horror. Like hunters displaying their kills. Because that is exactly what they are. Vextar replied grimly. The communication channel opened again. Commander Park Hyun's voice filled the bridge. Captain Vextar, we will be departing soon. Our repairs are almost finished. It was nice meeting you. Likewise, Vextar managed to say. Oh, before I forget, if you run into any trouble in this sector, give us a call. We patrol this area regularly. Always happy to help fellow explorers. The human commander was offering protection, but to the aliens, it sounded more like a warning. This was human territory now. They would be watching. Thank you, Vextar replied. We will remember that. Good. Take care out there. Space can be dangerous for ships that are not prepared for combat. The transmission ended. On the Iron Mountain, Commander Park Hyun turned his attention back to his ship's status reports. The encounter with the aliens had been pleasant but unremarkable. Just another peaceful first contact with a friendly species. He had no idea that his casual conversation had terrified the alien crew. His mention of regular combat patrols, his offer of protection, his warning about dangers in space, all of it had been meant as friendly advice. But to beings who had never experienced real warfare, it sounded like the casual conversation of a natural-born killer. Sir, Chief Engineer Choi Soo-jin reported over the intercom. Engines are back online. We are ready for departure. Excellent. Set course for home. It is time to get back to Earth. The Iron Mountain powered up its massive engines. The ship began to move, slowly at first, then faster. Within minutes, it was accelerating toward the edge of the star system. On the Void Seeker, the alien crew watched the human ship leave with a mixture of relief and terror. They were safe for now, but they had learned something that would haunt their nightmares forever. Somewhere in the galaxy, there was a species of apex predators who had learned to build starships, and they were spreading outward into space, bringing their culture of violence and warfare with them. Captain, Mothka said quietly, what do we tell Alliance Command? Vextar thought about this carefully. How do you explain that you have discovered the most dangerous species in the galaxy? How do you describe beings who are stronger, tougher, and more violent than anything in known space? The Iron Mountain moved through space like a sleeping giant. Its engines glowed with blue fire as it accelerated toward home. Inside the ship, the human crew went about their normal duties, unaware that they had just changed the course of galactic history. Commander Park Hyun sat in his captain's chair, reading reports from his department heads. The repairs were complete. The crew was healthy. Weapons and shields were at full power. Everything was normal. Sir, said Communications Officer Han Ji-woo, we are receiving another transmission from the alien vessel. Put it through. Captain Vextar's voice came over the speakers. Commander Park Hyun, thank you again for the pleasant conversation. Before you go, may I ask you something? Of course. Your ship and crew are very impressive. How long have your people been traveling in space? Park Hyun thought about this. About 300 years, give or take. We started with simple rockets and worked our way up to faster-than-light travel. 300 years, Vexitar repeated. That is very fast development. Really? How long did it take your people? Nearly 2,000 years. Park Hyun was surprised. Most species took a long time to develop space travel, but 2,000 years seemed excessive. What took so long? We had to learn to live in peace first. Wars kept setting back our progress. Oh, we never stopped fighting, Park Hyun said, casually. We just got better at fighting in space instead of just on planets. There was a long silence from the alien ship. Park Hyun wondered if the communication system had failed. You never stopped fighting? Vextar finally asked. Not really. There is always someone who wants what you have or wants to hurt innocent people. We learned a long time ago that the best way to keep peace is to be ready for war. On the Void Seeker, the alien crew listened to this conversation with growing horror. The human commander was describing a philosophy that was completely alien to them. The Alliance had achieved peace by ending warfare. Humans had achieved peace by becoming unbeatable at warfare. Commander, Vextar asked carefully, how many ships does your people have? Military ships? Oh, several thousand. The Earth Navy has about 8,000 vessels of various classes. Then there are the colonial defense forces, the merchant marine, and private security companies. All told, maybe 15,000 combat-capable ships, 15,000 warships. The entire Galactic Alliance had fewer than 500 military vessels, and most of those were for exploration and patrol duties. The humans had built a fleet 30 times larger than the entire Alliance Navy. And if the Iron Mountain was representative of human technology, those 15,000 ships were probably more advanced than anything the Alliance could field. That seems like a large military force, Vextar observed. Does it? I suppose it is pretty big. But space is dangerous. Pirates, slavers, hostile aliens, territorial disputes, resource wars. You need enough ships to handle whatever comes up. Resource wars? Sure. Sometimes different groups want the same planet or asteroid field or trade route. Usually we can work out a diplomatic solution, but sometimes you have to fight for what is yours. The casual way the human discussed warfare made Vexitar feel sick. These beings had militarized their entire civilization. They built warships like other species built cargo haulers. They planned for combat like others planned for trade missions. Commander, Vextar asked, what is Earth like? Earth? It is home. Beautiful place if you can handle the gravity and radiation. Mountains, oceans, forests, deserts. About 12 billion people spread across 7 continents. 12 billion? Yeah. It is getting a bit crowded. That is why we are expanding into space. We have colonies on about 400 worlds now, with more being established every year. 400 colony worlds, each one probably defended by human warships, each one populated by apex predator beings who treated violence like a hobby. The Alliance had 17 member worlds total. Your people expand quickly, Vextar noted. We have to. Population growth, resource needs, and honestly, some of us just like exploring new places. Plus, the more territory we control, the safer our trade routes become. Territory control, trade route security. The humans were not just exploring space. They were conquering it, claiming it for themselves through military might and overwhelming force. Dr. Yun Taiho walked through the corridors of the Iron Mountain, making his final medical checks before their departure. In the past 3 days, his crew had shown remarkable recovery from their battle injuries. The humans healed faster than any species he knew about except for other humans. He passed the ship's recreation area, where off-duty crew members were relaxing. Some played card games. Others watched movies on personal screens. A few were reading books or writing letters home. To an outside observer, they looked perfectly normal. But the alien scanners recorded everything, sending data back to the Void Seeker. What the aliens saw was disturbing. The humans' entertainment was violent. Their movies showed battles and explosions. Their books told stories of heroes who killed their enemies. Their card games involved strategy and conquest. Even their relaxation involved thinking about warfare. Look at this, Kethalon said, highlighting. Scan data from the human recreation area. Their entertainment media. All of it involves combat or competition or conquest. What does this tell us? Dr. Vethma asked. That violence is so normal to them that they consider it fun. In the ship's mess hall, human crew members ate their dinner and talked about their plans for when they reached Earth. Some wanted to visit family. Others had leave time scheduled. A few were planning to transfer to other ships for new assignments. I heard the Thunderbolt is shipping out to the Vega sector next month, one Marine said. Should be good hunting out there. Hunting? Yeah. Intelligence reports suggest pirate activity in that area. The locals have been asking for help dealing with raiders. Sounds like fun. I am getting tired of patrol duty. I need some real action. The aliens recorded this conversation with growing dread. The humans were looking forward to combat. They were excited about the possibility of fighting pirates. What other species considered a dangerous necessity, humans treated as an entertaining break from routine. Sir, Communications Officer Han Ji-woo reported to Commander Park Hyun, "We are receiving a priority message from Earth Command. Put it through." Admiral Kim So-ra's face appeared on the main screen. She was a middle-aged woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Battle scars on her cheek told of her combat experience. "Commander Park, good to see you are safe. How did the patrol mission go?" "Routine, mostly. We dealt with 3 pirate groups, broke up a slaver operation, and helped evacuate civilians from a failing colony station. Standard patrol stuff." "Casualties?" "Light. 15 wounded, no deaths. The crew performed well." "Excellent. When you get back, you will have 2 weeks of shore leave, then I have a new assignment for you." "What kind of assignment?" "Exploration mission to the Andromeda Edge. Long-range reconnaissance. 6 months minimum, possibly longer." "Sounds interesting. Any expected hostiles?" "Unknown. That is why we are sending you. If there is trouble out there, you can handle it." The conversation between the human officers was casual and professional, but to the aliens listening in, it revealed the terrifying scope of human military operations. They were not just defending their territory, they were actively expanding into new areas of space, looking for new worlds to claim and new enemies to fight. When the transmission ended, Commander Park Hyun turned to his crew. "You heard the Admiral. Set course for Earth, best speed. We have shore leave waiting." The crew cheered. After months of combat and patrol duty, they were going home to rest and recover. But the aliens knew this rest would be temporary. Soon these humans would be back in space, spreading their influence further across the galaxy. "Captain Vextar," Commander Park Hyun's voice came over the radio. "We are departing now. It was a pleasure meeting you. Safe travels." "Safe travels to you as well," Vextar replied. The Iron Mountain engaged its faster-than-light drive and disappeared in a flash of blue light. The space around the Void Seeker became quiet and empty once again. But the silence felt different now. The aliens knew they were no longer alone in this part of the galaxy. Somewhere out there, 15,000 human warships patrolled space routes and protected colonies. Somewhere beyond the stars, 12 billion apex predators were building more ships, training more soldiers, and expanding their territory. "Captain," Mothka said quietly, "what do we do now?" Vextar looked at the empty space where the human ship had been. "We file our report and let Alliance Command decide." "What will you tell them?" "The truth. We encountered a new species called humans. They are technologically advanced, militarily powerful, and appear to be expanding aggressively through space. Should we recommend caution?" "I will recommend that any Alliance ships encountering humans should avoid conflict at all costs." Kethlon began preparing the official first contact report. As he wrote, he tried to find words to describe what they had learned. "How do you explain that a species of natural predators has achieved spaceflight? How do you describe beings who are stronger, tougher, and more violent than anything in known space?" "Science Officer's Log," he dictated. "Species. Designation, human. Origin world, Earth.